Hi, welcome to some pincushion ideas with GourmetQuilter. I'm Susan Clare, the GourmetQuilter, because quilting is delicious, and so are pincushions, I have to say. So we're doing a whole series of 20 different pincushions, and they're coming out one a day, so there's a video and a pattern for each one. And on the website, GourmetQuilter.com, there's more information and a pattern if you're interested in it. We're up to number 18, so we're well into the series. In fact, we're coming towards the end of the series. So this is the sort of pattern you might get if you're going to be downloading. If there's shapes to trace and things like that. So this time for pincushion number 18, we're doing a little pleated pincushion. So we've got two colour pleats. So we've got that they go one colour that way and they go one colour that way. So we've got to make these little two colour strips. So on the pattern it tells you all the cutting sizes and things like that. Most of these things only have small quantities because they're small items. So I've gone ahead and I've got everything cut out and I've started doing a little bit of the sewing. So we needed a couple of pieces of batting. I like to put batting front and back when I do pincushions if I'm using the crushed walnut shell, which I will be again this time because it softens it and helps contain it. So I've started getting, that's going to be my back. I have to quilt that. I haven't quilted it yet because the back has just got some quilting to hold it together. Then for my two colours this time, I'm doing a yellow and a purple. So I've suggested that we might need to have 7 of these strips, and you can just join them in one long strip and then cut them down. It's not only too long if it's like that, it's also a little bit wide. We have to bring them in a little bit shorter, and then we just need some strips of the main background colour to go in between. So I'll just finish trimming these or do some more of these just to show you. So what I've done is simply just join my 2 strips together with the regular 1/4 inch seam, and then I've just pressed them back on themselves along the join. So you can do one long one, or if you've only got small pieces of fabric, of course you can just start with shorter strips. Everything is just slightly large on the pattern sizing so that things can be trimmed down, so that makes life a little bit easier. And then we also need to make them a little bit narrower. It's a little bit narrow to have them just the size we want when we're joining the great long strips or even short strips together. It's actually easier to join them, press them and then trim them, because we just want a 1/4 inch showing, so we just want 1/2 inch wide. So even though they've started out wider, they've come in nicely like that. So I can do those in a minute. I'll get started. So I am using a lightly fusible batting. It's very lightly fusible. It won't hold, it won't leave anything behind. So we need to put one of our strips down first, so just near the edge of the batting. Again, the batting will be trimmed down, but the fabric will be the right size width-wise. And then we just want to start placing these so that the raw edges are level. So we need to place them, if we're going to have, in my case, the yellow, if I put that down, it has to go down on each strip that we put in so that they're all the same, so that you get this nice sort of effect of one colour going one way and one going another. So we just need to place that so the raw edges are all even. Then we place another one of these strips on top, so right sides together, and we just join with our 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'll go ahead and I'll do this one to show you. And then I'll press that so that you can see. It doesn't need to be a fusible batting. Mine is, but it doesn't need to be. As long as it's a fairly lightweight batting, things will sit nicely on it. So I've gone ahead and I've pressed that seam over now, and so that is sitting flapping. So and then we just continue on in the same way with the rest of the strips all the way across. So we place that one down in the same way as the first one, then we put right sides down of our background strip and we sew again. So I'll go ahead and keep sewing my strips on and then show you what we're going to do next. So I've gone ahead and I've done all my little pleaty bits here. So I just need to trim it to size now, and then I need to get my back quilted as well. So I'll go ahead and I'll get it all trimmed and I'll quilt the back, and then I'll show you how we go ahead with the front bit to make those pleats work for us. So I'll just do all this first though. So I've gone ahead, I've trimmed up my piece, I've done some quilting on the back piece and I've trimmed it up. They're both the same size now. And I've decided I'd like to have my yellow as my central pleat where I've got the red here. So now I've got to press it all back the other way so that I can see the yellow, but that's all fine, we can do that. So I'm just pressing down the centre bit there, and then we just need to do a row of stitching to hold that down there, and then a row of stitching at each end to hold it at the ends as well. So we need to just mark the centre of our piece, and what I found the easiest thing to do is to just draw myself a line. So get your pieces laying the right way, and then just draw a line all the way down over those pleats so that you can just stitch that line. And then on these other ones, they've got to go the other way, so we need to have a line, and we've just come in maybe about 3/4 of an inch from the edge and drawn a line with them facing that way as well, so that I've got my 3 lines of sewing marked so that I can go ahead and stitch them. So I'll go ahead and do this. So we're just starting and just stitching all the way down, pushing those pleats, stitching straight over those pleats to hold them down. And then we do the same thing but with the pleats now going the opposite way on the sides. So that's all looking kind of fun, and we can give it another press now that we've got it to that stage. We've got a better idea of the bits that we're trying to press, so that you can see the colours nicely. It's looking pretty good, and this just sort of twists over, so it's a little bit textured, so it makes life a little bit interesting. Right, I'll go ahead now and stitch it all up. So I've got my back piece here, so now it's just a simple stitching the two together, and we do need to leave a gap for turning and filling, so it doesn't really matter which side the gap's on. I found it was easier in the end to do it on this edge where the pleats are coming away from it, rather than trying to sort of tangle with the pleats as well at that edge. So I'm just going to stitch all the way around, leaving a gap for turning, maybe a couple of inches in the centre of that side there, and then we'll just need to clip those corners and turn it out the right way and fill it. So I've done my stitching around, I've left my gap. I'm just going to clip those corners off so that the corners push out reasonably well. And we can turn it out the right way, and then we can fill it up. And I'm going to use the crushed walnut shell to fill it. I always think that that's really nice in pincushions. Keeps your needles and pins sharp, ready to attack you. I have to say that if you are going to use pins, there's nothing worse than a blunt pin, because it can damage your fabric, which isn't a good thing either. Come on, you can do it. So I've got my trusty turning pencil here, so I'm going to poke those corners out. So there's a little bit of bulk going on, but shouldn't be too bad in the actual corners. There is the batting to contend with, but the pleats shouldn't be right in the corner. Always when you've got extra layers and textures and things, it does get just a little bit harder to manoeuvre, but that's okay. And then just run that tool, whatever it is that you're using for this, around those seams to help them sit out nicely. And we will give those edges a little bit of a press. I'm going to press in the gap so that when I come to sew it, it's got a little line to fold to. And then just make sure these are sitting as well as they can. This all just helps things sit straighter, even though it's not going to sit flat, to try and stop some of the pulling in that can happen with this sort of thing. Oh, that's looking pretty good. So now I'm just going to fill it up with some crushed walnut shell. Really very straightforward. Apart from putting those pleats in and twisting them, this is quite a straightforward, fun little pincushion, and it's so effective, it looks so good. So I'll go ahead and get this filled, and then we've just got to hand sew it closed, and so I can show you when I get to the other end of all that. So I'm just finishing off my last couple of hand sewn stitches here. It's always a nice feeling to be coming to the end of something. And I just like to put my needle down in, and I can bring it out somewhere else so that those thread ends get lost inside somewhere. And here we have a little pincushion. That's looking really cute. So great, we can stick pins in it. It's really good for all of this. It's also great because of those little pleats on there. We can also put some clips on it if we want to, if you're a clip user too. So that was our little twisted pleated pincushion. So that was it for our pincushion number 18, with the twisted pleats on it. And I'll see you again with pincushion number 19.